we get a lot of people say to us, oh, how did you make the jump to launching your own business and leaving your full-time salaries and roles? But I actually stayed at Boots for another 6 months and was building the content cloud with Daisy in evenings and weekends, and basically any time I could. So we were literally building it, both working around the clock. There were so many Saturday nights where we were literally like on my sofa working, and people were like, you lot need to chill and have a day off.
Hi, I'm Lucy.
And I'm Yasmin.
And we started an online community called Ecom Girls Club because we had no friends.
Well, no, we had friends, just not friends working in e-commerce, D2C marketing and brand building like us.
And now we do. Ecom Girls Club is the first international community exclusively for girls in e-commerce, and we have a lot to say about it.
So we started a podcast. We'll be here each week to talk about the highs and lows of entrepreneurship, building online business and the problems we face in the e-com industry.
And we'll also be sharing the stories of the amazing women within our community who are all crushing it. So let's get into it.
Hi Daisy, hi Liv. Thanks so much for joining us. Is this our fourth episode, Luce?
This is our fourth episode. We're getting there.
It's been a journey. But yeah, we're really excited to have you guys on. So thanks for joining. I think best way to start is by you guys just introducing yourself to any listeners so that people know who we're talking to. So yeah, if you could just give us a bit of a top line, that would be great.
Yeah, thank you for having us, guys. I'm Liv, and one half of the Content Cloud Network, which is our social first content agency, which we started a year and a half ago. We launched it as a UGC agency, but quite quickly kind of evolved into like a full service social and influencer and content agency. And yeah, my background is influence marketing, so I actually wrote my dissertation on it 7 years ago. I then worked at Connects, which is now like a really well-known influence agency. Worked at like a load of different agencies, and then worked at Gymshark as a sponsorship manager on the athlete program. And then also moved to Boots doing that influence marketing, which is where myself and Daisy met.
Yeah, hi guys, I'm Daisy. So yeah, other half of the Content Cloud Network, as Liv has very easily introduced. And then my background is kind of more social. So started off kind of in the beauty marketing team at Debenhams, where I was there for a few years working with all the beauty brands, and then went freelance and have been freelance for the last kind of 4-ish years, where I actually met Yaz working on a very lovely beauty brand called Smart Skin, and then have worked with a range of different kind of big and small businesses, John Lewis, working with them on a strategy for a year, like the Soul Supplier and kind of other small businesses that are similar, kind of working on their social strategies and content creation. And then I also work with a lot of talent, so Grace Beverly, Ash Home, and then obviously Naomi Smart, people like that, working on whatever projects they might have to kind of help with their social content. And then yeah, met Liv at Boots.
Amazing. So I have a question to kick off with, which isn't actually about content, but I feel like I have to ask it. You guys, we see all the time, you guys are really good friends. You're together all the time. What's it like running a business with your best friend though? Because I can imagine that's like a tricky dynamic at times, or like, how do you kind of navigate being friends and business partners?
So I think so when we first met, it was my first day of my new job. It was like, obviously influence marketing manager for Boots UK. It was a big job. It was like the biggest one I'd had so far. So started and got on a call, and my new manager was like, cool, so we've actually hired a freelancer before you could kind of like get started on the role, because I had quite a long notice period. So then he was like, yeah, I'm going to put some time in with you and Daisy so you can like get to know each other. You're going to be working alongside each other for a bit. So I'm obviously like, oh, okay, this is like my new big girl job, and there's a girl already doing it. So I had like a little stalk on Instagram. I was like, okay. And then, yeah, we had a call, and I was kind of like picking up some of the work that Daisy had been doing, but then we kind of like ended up doing it together, and they kept Daisy on for a bit because loved both of us. So we've always had like a working relationship, haven't we, when we kind of
Like before we were friends.
Yeah, before we were friends, really. And then I think it was literally like a month into us working together, Daisy WhatsApped me, because we were always talking on Teams, and then she WhatsApped me and was like, oh, can I call you like on your, because we'd had meetings, but can I call you on your personal phone? I want to like talk through this like idea with you. So I'm like, yeah, of course. And then I think it took literally about 14 minutes. We can see on our looking through our old text thread, and 14 minutes long of a call. By that point, Daisy had already started sending me ideas of what we were going to call the agency. So we didn't even know each other that well really, but I think we just had, I don't know, I feel like we kind of like impressed each other in like the time we had spent working together, and like had different
courting.
But yeah, it's like a relationship. We had like, obviously I'm like an influencer expertise like background. Daisy was very much like social. And then we'd both just seen UGC like popping up everywhere. So interestingly, I had literally just made my sister a content like UGC portfolio 2 weekends before, because I was like, she's a beauty buyer, she creates really nice beauty content, so we'd actually used her at Boots, like we were starting to use her at Boots to create some content. So I was like, you can start to like make this into like a bit of a side hustle. So I'd done that, and then was working with like an underwear brand where we were gifting out loads of product. We were getting like really great stories and like Instagram stories, really nice coverage, but we weren't getting enough content, and especially video content, to put on the channels. And then Daisy was having conversations, weren't you, which was like
the same
similar problems. Yeah. So yeah, we were just, it kind of just was like, well, we've seen the problem and we both have like the skills and network and it like experience that we were like, oh, we actually could maybe just like do this ourselves.
Yeah. And I think at that point we were very much still like, hi lovely, like how are you? And it was very like quite like more formal, and I look back on the messages and I was very much like putting kisses and stuff, whereas obviously now we are, you know, like best mates. But I would say like it is quite rare, I think, because there's so many of my like amazing friends who I love, but I actually could never go into business with them. And it does just work. Like we sometimes have, because obviously for the moment we were looking at like moving flats, as in we both don't live together, we live with our friends, and our tenancy's like coming up for renewal this year, and we were like, you know, what do we do, kind of thing. We're both in a similar situation whereby we could live together, and then we were like, yeah, that'd be great, and then we were like, do you know what, actually we've got such a good relationship now, like let's not do that. So we're not doing that, and that's definitely a smart thing to do. But I think because we usually spend quite a lot of time together and we don't tend to see any like clashes. I think there's times where like one of us might be on our period or like due on our period, and we're like on our message, because you know I can be a lot sometimes, as in like my brain just works overdrive, and sometimes if Liv's like trying to focus, I'll be like, oh my god, and then this thing that I'd love to talk to you about, and there's this proposal that I want to get your ideas on, and she's like, Daisy, I just need to like fucking focus. Also, sorry, I don't know if we're allowed to swear on this. So yeah, so there's times where I'm like, we've now really got to navigate how we work, and like we know that we need like one working from home day, like away from each other, so that we can just proper like focus on what we're doing and our own other like individual projects. But other than that, I think we do pretty well. And there'll be times where I'll message you and I'll be like, I feel like I've been really snappy this week, really sorry, and you're like, girl, you literally haven't.
Yeah.
And like vice versa. So other than that, like I will be honest, we actually have never like fallen out.
Yeah.
Literally never really disagreed on it. We have some things, but we'll be like, you know, I disagree, I think we should approach it like this, and vice versa. We have a conversation about it and we come to a middle ground always.
Yeah.
I think honesty is kind of the best policy with it. I mean, Yasmin and I are both very honest with each other. And I think Yasmin and I, we'd met once before we set up Ecom Girls Club. So similar kind of thing, but we've both had situations where we've been like, look, I've got a lot, XYZ is going on, so like I don't have time for like XYZ today, so just give me some space or give me some like grace. And it's like, you just have to communicate, right? It's the only way to do it. I don't know if you'd agree, Yasmin.
Yeah, definitely. But I feel like similar to you guys, like Lucy and I weren't mates before we did Ecom Girls Club. And I think that's why it works. Like one of the very first episodes that we ever recorded on this podcast was just me and Lucy having a chat about like solo founding businesses versus co-founding businesses. And then like, if you're going to co-found, how do you even find a co-founder and all that kind of stuff. And I think actually like when you go into business with someone who you don't have a pre-existing relationship with or a friendship with, those like professional boundaries are there from the off. so you don't have to like build them up. Whereas I think when you're mates with someone or even in a relationship with someone and go into business together, Daisy's laughing because she worked with me and my ex. Yeah, then it's really difficult to like build those professional boundaries.
So wait, have you guys met in real life? Because obviously you're Hong Kong based. And
Yeah. We've met maybe like 4 times in real life, maybe like 3 times in London, and I was in Dubai. But that's mad to think about that because it feels like Yasmin and I talk nearly like you guys probably every day. So it feels very strange to say that. Yeah, it's strange.
I know, I think it would be really interesting. Like, I know there are, which obviously is what the Ecom Girls Club does as well with like connecting people. But I feel like it would be an interesting phase to be like actively looking for a co-founder, because I feel like the best times is when it does happen really organically. And I think me and Daisy, without even like discussing it, had the same vision, the same goals, and like the same motivations. Like, I think if we'd have both started this agency, like, right, we both want to like make loads of money really quick, and we want to, you know, like be sitting on a beach, like not really working. And if like money was our end goal, like we wouldn't have had like the motivation and kind of like the drive that we've had from the offset.
Because I think it genuinely has to be organic. And like they were saying, if there wasn't any times that year at the end of 2022 that I was going, I really want to launch a business this year. Like, it wasn't on my vision board. It wasn't even in my like peripheral vision. Like, I always say that if I had known that we were going to do this, I'd have like gone and worked in a contract job for another year, in a job that I could travel and like do something where I could be working like all around the world and get paid for it with an agency or what have you. Because obviously little did we know how much like hard work we were about to go into for the next few years. But
that's such a good point, Dace, because it's like it kind of debunks this, I guess, myth that when you start your own business you get all the freedom to travel and be where you want to be and do what you want to do. It's like the complete opposite. You're literally like shackled to your office or your bedroom or your living room because you've got to graft and build. So I feel like you've just hit the nail on the head with that.
Yeah, definitely. And I think we get a lot of people say to us like, oh, how did you like make the jump to launching your own business and like leaving your, you know, full-time salaries and roles? But I actually stayed at Boots for another 6 months and was building the content cloud with Daisy in like evenings and weekends, and basically like any time I could. So we were literally building it, both working like around the clock. Like there were so many Saturday nights where we're literally like on my sofa working, and people were like, you lot need to chill and like have a day off. And you still had like loads of social media clients. But I think that was a really good way to do it because it almost took the pressure off. It wasn't like, you know, we need to sign a client by like this day to literally be able to pay our rent. Like, obviously it is quite a privilege to be able to start to build it while you're, you know, in like another job. But I think that gave us the freedom to like take our time, not rush, start to like build the right clients that we wanted to work with. And then it was once we had a few clients set up, we were kind of like had everything in everything kind of going, that I was then able to leave my full-time role.
I think as well, like it's kind of, I did something very similar. Like, I worked for a very large global bank whilst I set up my agency, and essentially had 2 full-time jobs for like 3 months. But it's like, choose your hard, right? It was either I work really hard in that period and then don't have to stress as much when I do leave my like stable job, or you have a slightly easier life, but then you really have to graft when you leave because you're under a lot of pressure to like get clients in and get money coming through your business. So I think there's not really an easy way to do it, right? I think people look at it and like from the outside it can look like you've really easily just slid into a new career, but they haven't seen all the stuff that's going on behind the scenes, and as you say, like the graft.
I think it also works really well for me and Daisy that we both have quite different like personalities, but also kind of like working styles. And when we first started, we would always get the advice from mentors, like do different roles, work out what your like where like the boundaries are. But I feel like it just happened naturally for us. We weren't like, right, you're gonna run the socials, like one of us is gonna focus more on new business. Like Daisy, actually, I didn't actually have access to our bank account for like a year because I just our bank account just wouldn't let us have two like people on it. So we literally called Daisy the Karen that's head of finance for like a year.
Not a title I want.
Yeah. So Daisy, without knowing, became head of finance, which isn't her favourite role in the business. But I think naturally we kind of like, Daisy's very good at being like, okay, I think we should do like an event for spring, and we should do like a spin event for the new year, and we should put this on. She's very like long-term goals and like coming up with new ideas. And I think I'm good at like the day-to-day like client servicing and kind of like really just like in the detail of like all of the projects and kind of like the creator side as well. So we've kind of like naturally found roles. But I think it's really important when you are a small team that everyone can do everything, and that like it isn't that one of us has to like pick up from the other. It just kind of like naturally works. We divide up clients. So, but I think, like learning each other's like working styles is really important to like a successful partnership.
I completely agree. I also feel that like in any kind of partnership that I've ever had, whether it's elementary or cloth project or ecom girls club, like you naturally gravitate towards your opposite. So like if I think about any like ex-business partner or current business partner, they have complete opposite skill sets to me, and we work really well together. I think that's like really important to gel, but you naturally find that like the division of roles and responsibilities, it just happens quite organically when you have opposing skill sets or just different skill sets. So like, I think you guys are really lucky to have just naturally found each other. And I think the reason why you are seeing so much success is because you do complement each other so well, but you obviously both bring different things to the table. I think that's really important for people to be having us at front and center when they're choosing their potential business partner.
I agree. And I think I was going to say, I think, Daisy, I feel you. I think I'm the Karen for Ecom Girls Club. I'll self-sacrifice as the Karen. It's okay. Yes, Yasin agrees. So on to everyone's favourite subject, content. We kind of envision that we might have people listening who maybe were interested in being content creators or getting into the whole world of UGC, although I know you guys do like far more than that. What would be your biggest kind of piece of advice for anyone looking to maybe start that side hustle creating content? How do they get involved with brands or get involved with platforms or agencies like yourself? Like, what would be kind of the number one thing you'd say to anyone?
Yeah. So, I mean, there's so many things. I'd say number one is make sure that you've really got a strong portfolio. Obviously, I bang on about portfolios like till the cows come home from being freelance anyway. So for me, like my portfolio has obviously always been around how I can create content and kind of results and what I can drive for people from a social media strategy. Yeah, so portfolio, again, always been big on portfolio, and anytime like I work on a new project, I'll make sure that I've put that in there and like I've actually got the results and whatever campaign, results that's driven. So from a content creation perspective, it's exactly the same. So you want to get a portfolio, or kind of you can use like Instagram and TikTok as your portfolio as well. It's not, it's worth saying it doesn't need to be like a presentation slide. But making sure that you've got all the different content verticals that you can offer, showcase how you're really good at voiceover work, showcase that you're really good at, I don't know, if it's presenting, that you can like really engage the viewer from a presenting standpoint, or you're really good at actually shooting content. Showcase kind of like high production content, but then also showcase like that really raw talking to camera content that you can, speak to the camera for a minute and you can hold the attention span. So yeah, basically just showcase all your work in all the different verticals for what you want to offer. Because if you want to work with a shoe brand or a footwear brand, but your Instagram is all you and your mates, or it's beauty focused, you need to make sure that you're showcasing all the different pillars that you want to work in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally agree with that. And I would say even in the last year to year and a half, the UGC creator space on Instagram and TikTok is becoming
so saturated.
Incredibly saturated.
Huge.
But we get like 20 people signing up to the cloud every day at the moment who have UGC Instagram accounts. So it's becoming quite like a crowded space. So I would say setting out what you want, you don't necessarily need to have like a niche, but I think having like your core pillars of, you want to be like a beauty, lifestyle, wellness creator, or is it that you're actually like really interested in female hormones or running content, and kind of starting to build up I guess not only why brands want you to create content, but why they would want to like collaborate with you and how you can like add value to their content. Because I think a lot of social channels, it's not obviously just about like promoting products, but it's about how you can add value to your audience. So I think, yeah, just like honing your skills.
And that is such a good point though, because I think people are very much like, you know, I want to be a content creator, but like why? Like, are you really, is it because you're so good at creating content that you want brands to maximize off that, and you want to kind of become a content creator yourself? Or like Liv was saying, we work with a couple of amazing creators who are so intelligent in a certain space, and it's like, yeah, can you add value to brands?
I guess then flipping that question over to brand side, so from a brand owner's or internal team's point of view, how do you identify the right UGC creator for you?
Yeah, so all of our like creator matchmaking is actually done manually. So we don't have like a platform whereby like someone can just like log on and pick a creator. We do a creator selection process off the back of a creative brief from a client. So it's about like obviously again like matching the values and making sure that those values align. And I guess to be honest, it really depends on kind of what the client wants. So again, if it is that like voiceover thing, or if it is that they want somebody to create a really like lovely day in the life, like this is where the portfolio comes in, because we go onto into our database and see what that creator is good at creating.
Yeah, so we have a cloud of nearly 500 creators. So as Daisy said, we'll look on the database, but we're constantly on the lookout for new creators. So me and Daisy's like Instagram DMs are constantly like, oh my God, look at this creator, or I just got served an ad from this person. And like, we're always on the lookout for new creators, people that are really great at creating content. But also a reason why we started the Content Cloud is because we already had like a really strong network of content creators, micro influencers, and not even just that, but like stylists and photographers and people that have like a real skill set. And actually content creation is just like another string to their bow, which I think is sometimes even better, because when we work with like a coffee brand, for example, there's so many like incredible coffee experts out there on social media. So we will often like just generally like do research on the platforms and using like SEO keywords. So creators that are using those SEO terms in their content is great for us, because it means we can find them a lot more easily. So yeah, we'll literally just look at like who brands are following, and TikTok's like a great discovery tool for those creators. But yeah, I think we kind of like, our algorithms are kind of great because obviously they can tell we're always looking for content creators. And then we're doing loads of I guess like awareness pieces as an agency. Like Daisy's really driving our like events, which in turn is making like more creators become aware of us. They sign up, they become part of our database. So yeah, the goal is just to basically have like the best content creators as part of the network, like as an agency in the UK, that we can partner with brands.
I was going to ask though, because I get asked this with clients I work with all the time and stuff, how many creators should you test with? Because obviously you want to test different demographics. And I know it's like, how long is a piece of string? It depends, but I'd be interested to hear your take on it.
As you said, it is a tricky one, but I normally think maybe like 6 creators, all creating 2 pieces of content each, is quite a nice way to start. And as like quite like a simple but effective strategy with clients, we normally assess who their like key consumer profiles are, and most brands will have that. Some have better ones than others. And have a better understanding of who their audience like truly is, not who they just want it to be. So then we will work to match those 6 creators with those different consumer profiles. So that you're kind of hitting those different audience groups, but also then those creators might be like, one might be like a parent influencer or parent content creator, that targets like more of a mature audience. And then you might have like a real like Gen Z creator that's maybe interested in like fashion. So to try and like test some different creators with different content styles, that's a good way to not only just like put the same brief out to 6 creators and test that, but kind of like test a few different creators and see not just who like creates the best content that you like, but what actually performs best on the brand's channels as well.
I was just gonna say, I know we obviously, I feel like Liv's done a very good example of like actually putting in, you know, like a number, but obviously, the more budget, the more that you're able to do and experiment with and test and learn. But I would just say as well, we try and say to clients that we love to like see things with a big 360 approach. So obviously you'd work with us on the creator side of stuff and potentially the influencer strategy as well. But then obviously we want to see that you're supporting that with like your other marketing comms and other touch points as well, because there's absolutely no point like working really hard on loads of amazing paid ads and then they land onto an organic social media channel with like no content because they don't believe that investing in organic social is worth it because it's not driving sales. So, or you've then got the customer journey completely broken from a paid ads perspective right the way through to ecom, and your site has got all these like annoying pop-ups and things that would stop someone from purchasing. So we try and kind of, it's obviously that's not something we manage in terms of like the, ecom site kind of stuff, but it's making customers aware, clients aware that these are the things that they need to think about.
Is there any one type of UGC that's working really well at the moment?
So everyone loves to see inside people's lives, which is why the whole day in the life thing has like really popped off. And I think that's still working very well. But I think it's obviously just a bit been as like a content format, it's a bit fatigued. So I think it's about experimenting with like ways in which they can do that. So we actually got served an ad from Lexola, the glasses brand, who have done a really, really incredible job at doing that piece of content in a very interesting way. So it's kind of just the way it's shot is like very innovative, and it's a complete like day in the life times kind of like point of view vibes from one creator, and she's basically putting on all of her different glasses, but she's going through her day in her life, and it's going through like a breakup with this guy. I don't know if it's on their current like feed, but it's like you can hear the conversations and see the conversations through her text and stuff, but it's just the way it's shot is really innovative. So I would say like people at the moment are loving like seeing inside people's lives and like in an authentic way, but obviously with the day in the life being said, it's about like spinning that on its head and keeping it fun and fresh.
And
That's
then I
really
would say
cool.
from a paid ads perspective, it is still very much those I would say kind of clickbait, but also just like shocking, like thumb-stopping ads. And Yaz, I actually get served one of your cloth project ads.
Oh my god!
Yeah, which I think works really effectively because you're kind of scrolling and then it's like, oh my god, and it is those ads that are performing really well at the moment. So we work with a lot of our clients who, before they started working with us, were using very like glossy campaign imagery or e-com imagery on their paid, and we've helped them to create those like lo-fi organic social feeling pieces where it might be someone like, oh my god, these leggings feel incredible, or like these are the 3 pre-loved bags that you need in your wardrobe this summer. And I think that's kind of been like stage 1 of this style of paid ads. But I think now, as the Lexola example, it's like, what's the next step of that, and how can we kind of, I guess, because as everyone's discovering that those ads convert, again, it's getting a little bit more saturated. So I think it's going to be, as a next step onto that, like how can you elevate those, or how can you get like more of your brand messaging in there. So I think it's just, that's something that was working quite well.
Yeah, it's really cool because like that ad that you were just talking about, the oh my god one that I do for Cloth Project, I literally, that was the first ad I've ever recorded, and it's literally like 12 seconds, no text, there's a bit of text overlay, but like subtitle captions, there's no like editing in it, there's no music, it's literally just me as if I'm a customer that's just received my product. It's like, oh my god, blah blah blah, for 12 seconds, and it's our highest converting ad. That's probably why you get served it so much. And it's been running since we launched, and it continues to win for us. Just I wanted to put a reference in here for listeners. You can see usually any ads that brands are running, so whether it's the Cloth Project one or the Lexola one that you guys just referenced, in Facebook ads library. It's also a really good tool to use to look at competitor brands and ads that they're running, and usually a way of determining whether ads are winning for them or highly converting is just to see how long they've actually been running for. Because as a general rule of thumb, if a brand has been running an ad for 6 months, it means it's working. So I just wanted to mention that.
Something I wanted to mention as well, and I think everyone on this call produces content to some extent. I get jump scared when I hear my own voice and I don't know where it's coming from all the time. If like I get served an ad with like my voiceover on it and stuff, it really throws me. Like still. Actually, that's a good point. Do you guys still produce content for clients ever?
Yeah, we actually do. Do you know what? I've actually gotten like I'm fine with hearing. I mean, I hate the sound of my own voice, but I'm fine with it because purely because
She loves it really.
As a social media manager for the past like 7-8 years, like I started off by having to do like weekly lives on Facebook for Debenham's Beauty, and it would go out to like, I think they have like, I don't know, 1 million people on Facebook. So that was like my life really. And then I'd obviously do the same for like Smart Skin. I've worked for like kids toys brands and had to be like, are you ready for the Easter holidays? Like, yeah, so I'm fine with it. But we actually do shoot content, to be fair. I've done some bits with Freesole. We've just got Office as a client, which is really exciting. Office shoot.
Congrats.
So
yeah, congrats guys.
Thank you. Yeah, so that's actually a very exciting one because we're like, what the hell? We would shop in there.
And that was like on our vision board, like our dream. I feel like we can say it. One of our dream clients to work with, and especially for you, was always Nike. And when we started working with Office, we're working on 2 projects, and one of those is on the V2K, which is like the brand new Nike style. So we have a range of creators creating content for them. So Nike approved all of the creators. So that was to have that in like Q1 of our second year of running the business is like massive.
So I was literally like, I'm putting myself forward for that one. Thank you.
I'm Daisy in the deck. But then I was like, go on.
Yeah, I said to like one of the team members, I'm like, can you just put me in there for approval? And Liv's like, oh, I love that you've made the lineup.
Yeah. But yeah, I think you've always naturally been like a content creator yourself. I feel like I've been less so on the content creation side of things, but I think you kind of have to, from like a self-promotion point of view, not necessarily like to work with brands, but as part of, you know,
running a business,
trying to grow an agency and grow our awareness, and, you know, we do want to kind of like be known in the industry for what we do. So a part of that is creating content for our social channels, which Daisy very often, like people like, you work in content, like how are you not,
just don't have the time,
you know? But like our social channels, we've got so many ideas of like series we'd love to put out and like TikToks we'd love to make.
So
but when we're still a startup, we have like a team, we're a team of 4 now, but even with that, like we have like an editor, so we'll send her all the clips and she'll edit content for us, which we're getting there. But yeah, it's still just like a hard balance, which I'm sure you guys find as well. Like if we've got a client project with deadlines, sometimes creating our own content is going to slip. So it's just a balance.
100%. Like clients come first, right? When you're running an agency, like the last thing I think about is my own like LinkedIn or whatever it is. But I would also say I think that's one of the great things about working with someone you're friends with. Like I've said this to Yaz before, but I'm nowhere near as good at putting out content as Yaz is, but because we're forced to do it for Ecom Girls Club and other things, and having Yaz do it and not show me how, but like encourage me to do it has made me so much more comfortable. And you have to do it, right? It's part of I think running most businesses to do with digital marketing nowadays, you have to be able to put yourself out there as well. So thanks, Yaz.
We do always say to clients as well, like, or when we have like a new business call, we're like, oh, how did you come across us? And so often it will be like, oh, I saw Daisy's LinkedIn post because Daisy's like really good on LinkedIn, or oh, I got served one of your reels and then I got in like a hole and then put an inquiry in your website. So even though sometimes like Daisy definitely like pushes us, like, come on, we need to post this week or we need to do this. And sometimes it's like, oh, you know, like it can wait, but the results do come through from it. So we know that it is like super important.
Yeah. It's also worth saying, like, while we're on the topic of like posting your own content, which in fairness, like I'm rubbish on my own personal Instagram, because we have obviously Content Cloud one, which I manage, and then I have my own kind of like social one, which is never posted on, and then my personal, I like will post on my personal like once a month, but it's worth saying that actually one thing you don't think about when you start business is personal brand, and like everyone bangs on about it and it's so cringe, but like genuinely sometimes.
So important, though.
Yeah, it's so important. And like, I've got so much of my work from before we even started the Content Cloud from Instagram. Because and there's these times where I think, oh, I would love an Instagram detox and like get rid of it for January or whatever. But actually, I get all my work from it, and it's so important, like as business founders, to like grow a personal brand, and that could just be on LinkedIn. Like some people just choose LinkedIn as that channel, but I think when you're in the creative industry, it's quite important to have that presence on Instagram and TikTok, and almost be. We worked with I think we could say Marina. So she is huge in the kind of creator space. She her complete role, I think she's like VP of beauty at Kyra. Huge agency, so she's amazing, she's incredible, and we kind of see her as kind of a bit of a mentor, and she has said how vital it is when she's in a room with brands of being a creator herself, and how much like credibility that gives her, which is so true because she's a micro creator herself. So it's like we really want to obviously emulate that ourselves as well, but it is just obviously putting in that work, because obviously we know to be a full-time creator and be successful at it, it's a full-time job. But yeah, it's something to consider when people want to launch a business.
I was just going to say, I feel like it's one of those things that, like, the idea of creating your own content is actually a lot scarier than the reality, because you just do it and it might be a bit shit when you start, and that's fine. Like, no one's really going to care. But then the more you actually do it, the more you get over the cringe, the more other people get over it as well. And they just get used to seeing like, oh, this is just what she does now, you know? And I think it really is mind over matter a lot of the time. And like with anything, the more you do it, the better you get at it. And then you kind of find what you enjoy creating, and then you just improve. And that, you can relate that back to any kind of element of creative, whether it's brand or personal brand or writing a LinkedIn post. But I just think consistency is key, as cliche as it sounds, but just get over the cringe and just go for it. And then it's kind of all works out in the end anyway.
Yeah, we often get people, like even quite big influencers, coming to us and saying like, I've kind of like dropped off on posting, or I'm feeling a bit lost with like my content strategy. And as like a really simple answer, we always say to people, build your like 3 to 4 content pillars. So that might be like health and wellness, being a business founder, I don't know, like growing a community, and then like beauty content, for example, and then literally doing like a month's content calendar, plotting out those posts, plotting out the reels, plotting out when you're gonna post those different content pillars, and then just sticking to your content calendar. And that's like, it just holds you accountable, and that's something that we've now developed some like almost like content series for the Content Cloud. So we've got like Wish We Worked on That, which is a series where we talk about projects that we love in the industry that we think are really interesting. We've got Creator Creds, where we're kind of like spotlighting our creators and giving them a chance to showcase them on the platform. We have another one, which
level up lessons. So teaching people how to like level up on socials. So yeah, we're starting to like integrate them into our socials. But yeah, we're kind of like creating pillars that you can become known for.
Yeah.
First question that we ask everyone is, what's the single best piece of career advice that you've ever received or would give to somebody?
So one of my managers in my first job used to say, if it doesn't make you...
That was mine.
Was it?
You can have the same line.
I've also got another one.
If it doesn't make you rich, happy or famous, then you don't need to do it. And sometimes with new clients, whether that's the brand themselves or even the person, we're like, you know what's like the objective of doing this? And I think if you're not, you need to, especially when you're a startup, and you know, we're not doing this to like make shitloads of money. So we're like, if it's gonna make us happy, if it's something we're really motivated by, it's a brand or like a campaign or a project we really want to put our names to and work on, obviously the money does need to come in to be able to like hire great people and build good websites and be able to pay our creators fairly and what they deserve. So we also do need to do the jobs that make us money. And then there's some pieces where we're like, you know, want to become known for. So yeah, I feel like I've always stuck by that, and I've also not been afraid to like leave jobs that I haven't enjoyed, or leave like, you know, we've had some clients that we've actually like stopped working with. So yeah, rich, happy and famous.
I couldn't remember what the last one was. So this morning I was like, rich, happy, and healthy. Is it rich, happy, and healthy? No, that's not very her
I'll
vibe.
take that.
I mean, we need help.
Yeah, and I was
Not
like,
very
"Oh,
your vibe."
it's making you healthy. It was like, yeah, 100%, totally agree. Also, I think when it comes to running a business, you need to face the fact that you're also not going to be able to do everything. Like, we have strong points and we have weaknesses, but when you run a business, you have to be every area of the business. And that is the sales, you have to be the marketing, you have to be the finance, you have to be the HR, you have to be the ops. And like, it's not humanly possible to be good at all of that. So lean on other people for your weaknesses. And it's not a weakness to do that. So yeah, I think all of the like best kind of business owners would have said that in the past and have said, you know, lean on people for the things that you're not strong at. So and it's really hard to do, like when something is your baby and you've grown it for years. For, you know, in the early years, it's hard to delegate, and that's something I've always been bad at, because I always think it's quicker just to do it myself. And then I think, no, we won't grow. We just won't grow if we do that. Like, social for me has always been like my baby, and it's the same with clients. Like, I want to have full control over the social media, whether that's a project I'm working on or whether that's my own. But now we've obviously got our content and social exec. I actually am now slowly starting to like hand over the socials and the passwords, and you know, putting trust in someone to run it. So yeah, and then also cringe and classic, but like
Network.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, I wasn't
What
gonna say
were you
network.
gonna say?
I was gonna say like what's meant to be like
Okay.
will happen. Like, we always say, me and my housemate always say, what's meant for me will never miss me, because I kind of think like you were saying when you're about like leaving a job. I got made redundant at Debenhams, and on my birthday, and I thought it was like the worst possible thing
Savage.
ever. I know. But like, it was meant to happen. And like, sometimes when, you know, like life comes at you in certain ways, and whether that's for jobs or, I think, yeah, obviously this sense we're talking about jobs, and like, you know, take the chance or take whatever it is that you want to like have a go at, because I do think if something's not meant to work out or it's meant to work out, it will happen. But some people don't believe in that like very holistic way of thinking, but I just very much do.
Oh my God, I think they were my favourite answers to that question that we've had so far.
Yeah,
Reese.
I love that. We have one more final question, which is, and it can be for you guys, it can be a brand you work with, to be fair, but we always say to brand owners it can't be their own brand, but a brand in the D2C space that you guys think is like killing it at the moment.
Well, we were saying like Rode, for instance, recently have obviously been killing it.
Yes.
And I think for us, like, I love brands that listen to their customers and like really listen to what their customers want. I've spoken before about like topicals. I think they've done an amazing job at like community driving, kind of showing up in a space that their customers are, and not trying to like create something that isn't right for that business. Another amazing campaign at the moment that we've seen is Gap, which I think people have seen on like LinkedIn. So funny enough, my friend actually worked on that campaign, which is so sick, but with Tyler, for their linen campaign, and it was like linen moves. And I thought it just, from like a like campaign point of view, it made so much sense, because it wasn't just like, oh, let's just tap into Tyler because she's cool, and let's tap into the Jungle song because it's cool. It made the whole campaign made sense from like every angle. And you go on to, right through to their site, you go onto their site and you can see like video content of each of the product, and it talks about how the way linen moves with all these dancers, and it's just really cool. So I think that's really cool, and that's it was an amazing way for Gap to show up in a Gen Z space, because traditionally like they're an old school brand, so it was a really like imaginative, innovative way to kind of show up to a new audience.
Yeah, I would say Gymshark. Obviously, I was there a couple of years ago, and I feel like they've seen such incredible growth. Obviously, they're a unicorn business now, and I feel like in the last few years, they've kind of like post-COVID, not being able to do like RL activations, and now they've started to bring those back. And they just did a run club last weekend with one of their athletes, Anna Archer, and they had 5,000 runners in Battersea Park, all there on a Sunday, all there because they want to run with Anna, they want to run with the community, and I think obviously, like, I'd say community is the buzzword of this year so far, and like community is at the heart of what the brand stands for. But seeing that and like the sheer scale and like the vibe that they created, I think they're just like killing it at the moment in terms of like the community events, and again like showing up in spaces where their community already are, and they say about like uniting the conditioning community. So they've got like free classes on at the moment, that's like a weekly conditioning class, and just creating like cool like events and activations. And I think not doing community just for the sake of like ticking a box and like getting people together and raising awareness, but actually like giving back to the community.
Yeah, that's such great answers. Last week, Luce, or I can't remember. We had Lucy Murray on from Free Soul, and she spoke to community so well and just reinstilled, I suppose, the importance of that. And obviously, they've seen huge growth through the building of their community. I know they're a client of yours, and I think they're just such a great example of that. So we can see it happening in real life, in the market, and I think you're right. It's a trend that's only going to grow through 2024 and probably beyond. Thanks so much, guys, for coming on. That was amazing. So many knowledge bombs.
So many.
We really, really appreciate it.
We will link everything, the Content Clouds, Liv and Daisy, in our show notes, of course. They are Ecom Girls Club OGs as well. We should say that. They've been there since day one. Woo!
Thank you guys.
Thanks for listening.
It's been amazing. It's just fun to chat with you guys and just
and we talk about Ecom Girls Club a lot to different people in the industry.
We love that.
We love
that.
There's a lot of like group chats and communities always flying around, but I feel like you girls have done a really good job at making something that is really valuable. Like I've connected with so many different girls through the group. And just think it's a great tool that you built. So congratulations on that, because it's super useful.
Thanks, babe.
If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to hit the subscribe button on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. And to get involved with Ecom Girls Club, search for @Ecom Girls Club on Instagram. And if you feel like taking your Instagram stalking one step further, we are both also on Instagram @Yasmin Chic and @LucyCG.